Give all praises to the Most High, whose name is Yahweh, in the name of his Son, whose name is Yahweh Shai, in the name of the Holy Spirit, the Rakakwadash. And those are the names of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit in the Paleo Hebrew. This is the brother Sagala coming back with a lesson. Gonna entitle this one Sexual Rites and Paganism. It's gonna be a look at the Catholic Church and all of the the widespread scandals that have been happening over these past years, decades, whatever you want to call them, centuries. And it all goes back to these biblical rights that the Lord was warning us about. So without any further ado, any further waiting, I'm going to play this video entitled U.S. Catholic Church Accused of Widespread Pedophilia. Get a few seconds of this.
He would tell my parents, I'm going to go bless the children before I leave. And I'd wake up to him fondling me, and he'd be fondling, playing with himself.
They'd have to be either really stupid and blind. It was obvious that this guy was a pedophile.
I believe that this crisis in the United States is every bit as profound as the 16th century Protestant Reformation. I think that nothing less than that kind of Reformation is going to silence this.
At his Boston cathedral.
Hold on. Look at the scepter that the Pope has in his hands. Now just take an image of that. I'm going to continue.
America's most senior Catholic cleric, Cardinal Bernard Law, celebrates Mass, revealing the mystery of the Eucharist. This is the church in full pomp and holiness.
Have been willing to speak out about the sexual perversion that's been going on in your church? Where are these priests of integrity? Why aren't they standing here supporting the survivors of sexual...
But the congregation is thinning, and to see why, you only have to peer outside, where local priest Brother Carr is confronted with the pain and anger caused by the sins of the Catholic fathers.
We are up in the air too. We're going, where is this coming from? Meaning, we pick up the newspaper and go, we didn't know this. We didn't know this.
Well, why didn't you open your eyes, God damn it?
Good question.
Why didn't you open your eyes all these years?
How can you say this wasn't
the other
you
way?
didn't know it wasn't going on. I don't believe
Everybody
that.
knew it was going on.
Yeah, it's a sick, crazy world. But let's get into Amos. Let's get in the book of Amos. Let's get Amos chapter 5. Bear with me. King James. Let's go to Amos chapter 5, verse 26. Let's start at verse 25. Have ye offered unto me sacrifices and offerings in the wilderness 40 years, O house of Israel? But ye have borne the tabernacle of your Malach, and Chion your images, the star of your God, which ye made to yourselves. Therefore will I cause you to go into captivity beyond Damascus, saith the Lord, whose name is the God of hosts, and who we know the name of the Lord is Yahweh. Okay, ye have offered unto me sacrifices and offerings in the wilderness 40 years. So in the wilderness, the Israelites got sacrifices and got all of the information to know how to sanctify the Lord and serve the Lord in his way. Okay, and it was given to us through the hands of his servant and prophet Moses. But guess what? It says in verse 26, but ye have borne the tabernacles of your Malak and Chian, your images. And why? Why was this? Because they had went into the land of Canaan to possess it, and the Lord had told the Israelites, do not intermarry with them. Why? Because they would start, you would start taking on their ways, and this is some of their ways, what we just witnessed in the previous video. But ye have borne the tabernacle of your Molech, and Chian your images, the star of your God, which ye made to yourselves. And you see these, well, I'm gonna look these things up. Chian your images and the star your God, and Malak. We're gonna look some of those images up, and you're going to see how that plays out in the mainstream media and these institutions and the logos. Verse 27, therefore will I cause you to go into captivity beyond Damascus, saith the Lord, whose name is the God of hosts. So what was this captivity beyond Damascus? This is talking about, because Damascus was part of the Assyrian Empire. So the northern kingdom of Israel, the 10 tribes, they had went into captivity in through an Assyrian captivity, and after that captivity, they had actually came over here to the Americas. So not only, so when Christopher Columbus and all of them came over here, whose name was Cristobal Colon, and they had the Spanish Inquisition and that the papal bull from the Church of Rome, who was the enemy to the Israelites these days and still are the enemy to God's chosen, the true Israelites, working in tandem with the false people of Israel to try to oppress the true children. But anyway, therefore will I cause you to go into captivity beyond Damascus, saith the Lord, whose name is the God of hosts. So all of that has not only went worldwide, but when we talking about pushing of a certain doctrine and ideal and a way of life, we talking about America is the main pusher of that propaganda. And when we talking about America, you have to understand that you have these other European nations, which America had stemmed from the United Kingdom or England, whatever the case be. But the people, the Edomites, have their foothold in the church. That is one of their power structures. That is one of their strongholds. Utilizing this religious institution. But let's look up Chian. Chian. Actually, before I look up Chian, let's look up Acts 47. Let's go to Acts 47. What? Acts 47? I'm tripping. Acts 7 and 43. Yeah, ye took up, let's start at 42. Then God turned and gave them up to worship the host of heaven, as it is written in the book of the prophets. O ye house of Israel, Have ye offered to me slain beasts and sacrifices by the space of 40 years in the wilderness? So this is really just a recap of what Amos was saying, but let's get it. Verse 43. Yet ye took up the tabernacles of Molech and the star of your god Rephan, figures which ye made to worship them, and I will carry you away beyond Babylon. Our fathers had the tabernacle of witness in the wilderness, as he had appointed, speaking unto Moses, that he should make it according to the fashion that he had seen. You know, so we had the law, statutes, and commandments given to us, but still we set up these idols to worship, and we see these idols going on in today's culture and society, and especially when we talking about Molech, you talking about like abortion clinics, eugenics. That's offering your child up to Molech when you go there. So let's look up some of these things. The star of Rephan and Cheon. Rephan star. Bam. Images. Now you see all of this. Okay, you see this hexagram star. Some call this a Star of David. You know, this will be the same star that's on the flag of Israel, right? Then you got these pentagrams. You got a hexagram and you got a pentagram. And we know these are satanic symbols. They're utilized as satanic symbols, especially in throughout the media. You see this? Hexagrams, pentagrams. And then you see with that star, they're showing you stars, and then they're showing you Raphan, right? Then they have this Molech character right here, Molech bath towel, a Molech bath towel. That's sickening. Okay, but then you have this idol with the horns, and you see this idol being pedestalized all the time, especially through the music industry. And then underneath the horned idol, you have a fire in which they would offer the participants would sacrifice their children in that fire. So we just talking about child sacrifice in the Roman Catholic Church right now. In conjunction with the video that we just seen, that I just played, the little clip. You know, and it's an old clip for the most part, but it still stands true. All of the pedophilia that's going on in that church, and why do you have the pedophilia? The people go there and what? They get their child sacrificed. Spiritually, mentally, physically abused. Okay, so it's not a church of the Most High. This is what's really going on through this institution. Why? Because they worship these false deities. But all of these, let's look up Raphan. Because I did a little search earlier it was Remphan. I did a search earlier, and all of this came back to the cult of Saturnalia. Okay, let's look up Cheon. Cheon. identified with Acadia. Chian is identified with the Akkadian Kaja Manu. In Akkadian intervolic, M comes to be pronounced like W, so M was often written even for original W, the steady one. Sometimes Sag us the appellation of the star god Saturn, hence Aramaic Kiwan or Kawan, whatever that is. But the whole point is that this whole thing, Chian, is tied to the star god Saturn. So when we talking about Molech, you're talking about Saturn. Saturn worship. When you're talking about Chian, you're talking about star god worship. Talking about Remphan, you're talking about star god worship. And this is the same thing that was happening in Paul's time, was going on in Amos' time. And especially when you're talking about Baal worship, which the Lord had to punish a lot of the rebellious children of Israel when he had went to the mountaintop to receive the laws and statutes written on the tablets. He had came back and found them doing what? Dancing around these same idols. Guess what? These idols never left. They're still here. And they're trying to rule over us today. But you have to have the eyes to see. You have to have the volition to look these things up. So let's go into the Saturn star. Saturn symbol. Saturn god symbol. Let's look that up. The symbol for the god Saturn. Now look at that. Now, if you remember when I paused that video and I said, look at the scepter that's in the Pope's hand. Now, this is the symbology for the star god Saturn. And you even see in one of these images that its symbol is within this star of Remphan. Why? Because Saturn is Remphan. Saturn is Chian. Saturn is Malak. They just have different renditions of the same god throughout these different cultures. But it's still celebrating the same thing. And that's why the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, always warned his people not to go after these other deities. Not to go after the customs of the other peoples. Now look at that. Now let's look up the let's look up the Pope's scepter. Pope's scepter. Let's get images. Now they're not gonna give it to me. Well, we'll reword it. I'll reword it. Oh, I put pose says scepter. Excuse me. Pope's scepter. Okay. Now let's look at these images. Especially this one right here to the right of the screen that has the gold serpents. That looks similar to that looks like a double-sided symbol for Saturn, right? That looks like that same symbol for Saturn. So when they're having you call them father, when they're having them call you father, or when they're having you or the participant of the church call them father, what are they father of? Because there's only one Father who art in heaven, okay? Now let's go down some. Because I believe there is another one. Bam, that's the same scepter. There was another one I seen a little earlier when I was looking this up. Bam, there another one goes where it says Petro Parlin Wikiwand. It was to the right of the screen. But we just talking Remphan and Cheon, the star gods, okay? We talking about Saturnalia. We seen the symbol for Saturn. Look at that. That's the symbol for Saturn right there. And that guy looks evil as hell. Look at him. Dude looks just wicked. Wicked all out. All out wickedness. Look, that's the symbol for Saturn. What does it say in Revelation chapter 11 verse 8? It says in this the city where their dead bodies lay. I'm just roughly paraphrasing it. The city where their dead bodies lay, that city is spiritually Sodom and Egypt. And we talking about for the most part these Sodomitish rituals, which stems from, you know, a lot of this Osiris, Isis, Dionysus worship, in which Dionysus was just I believe the Roman rendition to this same Baal worship, the same pagan idolatrous, the mystery religions is all stems from that same Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz, in which even that cross is a cross. When we talking about the cross, that's a symbol for Tammuz. Let's get it. Just because I brought it up. Tammuz symbol. That's why you're not supposed to make any images to any gods. Okay? See, look at this. Pagan crosses. That's the Latin cross. We talking about the Roman Catholic Church. Talking about Baal worship. And there's a whole story, a false story about the resurrection of Nimrod through Semiramis, through the cut off phallus or whatever the case be, or a tree. You know, whatever pagan story that is, but you know that somewhat tries to mirror the resurrection story that they tell you, or not the resurrection story, I'm sorry, but the virgin birth that mirrors this virgin birth thing, in which that's a lie within itself. But this is where they get that virgin birth. Okay? Talking about Tammuz. Remember, what I looked up was what is the symbol of Tammuz? It's all Tammuz, sons of Nimrod. Look at that. These are the same scepters. These are the same images that was on a scepter, on some of these scepters that you seen the Pope holding. All right. Now let's get a script. Leviticus. Let's get Leviticus 17. Verse 21. Oh, Leviticus 18, I'm sorry. Leviticus 18, verse 21. And and thou shalt not lend any of thy, and thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Molech, neither shalt thou profane the name of thy God. I am the Lord. Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind, it is abomination. Neither shalt thou lie with any beast to defile thyself therewith, neither shall any woman stand before a beast to lie down thereto, it is confusion. And what is a lot of these tenets that this Roman Catholic Church presses? We talking about pedophilia, and it's not just talking about a man and a girl. It's talking about man and boys. Okay, men and little boys, which is both, is within itself is wickedness. Okay, and this is an abomination and a profanity to the Lord. Let's get another one. Let's get Deuteronomy chapter 23. Verse 17, start at verse 17. There shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel, nor a sodomite of the sons of Israel. Thou shalt not bring the hire of a whore or the price of a dog into the house of the Lord thy God for any vow, for even both these are abominations unto the Lord thy God. So we talking about the sexual rites that they do within these cults, these pagan cults, sexual rites and paganism. And this is what this is talking about. Thou shalt not bring the hire of a horse, talking about temple prostitution. So it's also a double entendre. It means it has two meanings. That means even like for people that's pimping women or getting money by any ill-gotten gain, and then they come and offer it to the church. That's an abomination to the Lord. But you're also not supposed to bring temple prostitution within the church of the Lord. Okay, that's profanity. That's an abomination to the Lord. And this is what's really happening. Okay, there shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel, nor a sodomite of the sons of Israel. And we see that going on within that church system today. We just viewed a little piece of that video. Okay, that guy was talking about he will wake up with the priest, the so-called priest, fondling him and then fondling himself. Okay, that's wickedness. Why? Because this is not, and a lot of our people, especially you Latinos, you love to bring your children to the Catholic Church. You love to go to the Catholic Church. You do the 5 Hail Marys and whatever the case be. But this is not a church of what you call God. This is not the church of Yahweh or Yahweh Shai. They always like to say the church of God and Christ. No, this is the church of Satan. This is the church of Saturn right here. Why is the Pope carrying the scepter of Saturn? Okay. Okay, let's look up the rites of Saturn. Rites of Saturn. Rites of Eleusis, Wikipedia, The Rite of Saturn. First Hermetic international film, The Rite of Saturn by Aleister Crowley. And who was Aleister Crowley? If anybody doesn't know, Aleister Crowley dubbed himself as the most wickedest man in the world. Excuse me. Let's look a little bit of this up. He was a high-ranking witch. And he actually inspires a lot of the music industry. He's the reason why the music industry started doing all of these new age religious stuff, talking about yoga, mysticism, complete Satanism, witchcraft. The Rise of Saturn by Aleister Crowley. The first of Crowley's 7 rites of Eleusis, a series of public dramatic rituals built around the classical planets, includes 2 segments of Fuller's Treasure House of Images, as well as Illicit and the Garden of Proserpine. Okay, so when we talking about Saturn worship, we talking about Aleister Crowley. We already pegged the Catholic Church to that. Why? Because they do witchcraft. They're pagans. So let's look up the symbol of Saturn. Symbol of Saturn. Now we looked that one up. Bam. You see that was the scepter that the Pope had. Now let's go. Let's look up Saturnalia. Rites of Saturnalia. Let's look up Saturnalia. Let's look up rites of Catholic Church. Let's look up let's look this up. Wikipedia. A local patriarchal church. Liturgical rite. A liturgical rite depending on the tradition of an autonomous particular church. Catholic order liturgical rite, a variant of liturgical rites. The Code of Canons of the Eastern Churches defines rite as follows. Rite is the liturgical, theological, spiritual, and disciplinary heritage distinguished according to people's culture and historical circumstances that finds expressions on each autonomous church's way of living in faith. Let's look up what a rite is, for anybody that doesn't know. Rite definition. A religious or other solemn ceremony or act. That's what a rite is. Okay, so we got sex magic. We've tied sex magic in to the god Saturn. We've tied the Roman Catholic churches into the god of Saturn. We tied Aleister Crowley into the god of Saturn. And we just talking about going back on another video I had done about Lucifer and Lucy's trust. And there's a certain and I believe actually Aleister Crowley had written those books under the Lucifer's Trust publications, if I'm not mistaken. But let's look up Aleister Crowley. Let's look up Thelma. Catholic Church. Catholic Church. I looked up something a little earlier that tied the Catholic Church, a Wikipedia page that actually tied something about the Catholic Church and Thelema, which was one of the religions that I believe Aleister Crowley was over. Catholic Church and Thelema. Let's see if Google is gonna make the connections. Thelema is a philosophical, mystical, and religious system elaborated by Aleister Crowley and based on the Book of the Law. The word Catholic denotes the universality of the doctrine and not a Christian or Roman Catholic belief set. Thelemic Catholicism. Thelemic Catholicism by Dionysius Thriambos, I believe in one Gnostic and Catholic Church of light, life, love, and liberty. And you see that even the Catholic Church is starting to push up. For a while, they weren't even pushing the LGBTQ lifestyle. But now they're telling people that it is acceptable. Okay, I'm not going to spend too much more time on trying to see that. But we talking about sex magic, the star of Rephaim, of Refman. Let's look up the star of Refman. Star of Rephaim. Okay, we've already looked this up, but let's get it back in the image back in our head. We see hexagrams and we see pentagrams, and we know the pentagram for surely is dedicated to their god Saturn. Okay, a bull god like Baal, a goat god, a horned deity. And every time you seeing, within the industry, people throwing up this sign called a monocarnuto. Monocarnuto. If I'm spelling it correctly. Monocarnuto. Symbology. Okay. You see that? They're throwing that monocarnuto up. That's to symbolize the star god Rephaim, in which, also going along with Malek. Okay. Look at that. Talking about those when people throw up those devil horns, this is what they're giving tribute to. And not only are they trying to give tribute to that God, but they're trying to open up a portal and use themselves as a gateway to try to manifest the demons that come with it. And they also use it as curse to try to utilize that energy against whoever they want to. Okay? And this is how a lot of our people are getting abused, by not having the Holy Spirit with them to even discern these things, or not even having that protection from God. But it does tell us that no enchantment against Jacob shall flourish, just paraphrasing a scripture in Isaiah. Okay, so let's look up sex magic. Because a lot of that magic is happening through the pedophilia. They're doing sex magic, and this is how they keep the deceit going within the church. To fool the masses. But now everything is starting to come out, and a lot of people are actually leaving the church, but they're just going to full-fledged Satanism after they leave this form of Satanism. Sex rights, sexual rights, pagan sex rights. I don't want images. The Great Rite is a Wiccan ritual involving symbolic sexual intercourse with the purpose of drawing energy from the powerful connection between a male and a female. Both receive more power. It is an uncommon ritual in a full coven, as it is used when the coven is in need of a powerful spiritual intervention. So these damn devils been using your children to come up with their powerful spiritual interventions on the left hand side. Now let's look up why is sex so much needed. And then we've already seen the Star of Raphael. Okay, we talking about the hexagram. Now let's look up the Saturn Lodge. The fraternity of Saturn. Okay? So we got one in Tula, Russia, Saturn Lodge, Fraternitas Saturni. Fraternitas Saturni. Now, if you look, you see the same symbol because this is the fraternity of Saturn. Now, why is the Pope holding this same symbol as a scepter? Why is this symbology on his scepter? Because he is one of the heads of the fraternity of Saturn. Okay, fraternity of Saturn. The Brotherhood of Saturn is a German magical order founded in 1926 by Eugene Grosk, aka Gregor A. Gregorius, and 4 others. It is one of the oldest continuously running magical groups in Germany. The lodge is, as Gregorius states, concerned with the study of esotericism, mysticism, and magic in the cosmic sense. Today, its purpose is in working on the spiritual evolution of humans by means of development and advancement of the individual being. This is to be attained by mental and ethical schooling of the personality and complete mastery of esotericism and occultism. The FS, the Fraternity of Saturn, adopts a system of degrees ending with the 33rd as highest degree to reach this goal. The lodge claims further no political or economical objectives. It propagates ideals of freedom, tolerance, and fraternity. Current lodges. Let's see where some current lodges are. The Fraternity of Saturn has working lodges in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. There was a branch in Canada based in Toronto in the late 1970s. Now that's some bullshit, because look, I've looked up, let's look up Saturn Lodge address. Let's see what we get. Driving directions to Masonic Lodge 915, Saturn Boulevard, Masonic Lodge 915. Masonic. So this is a Masonic Lodge, okay? And its address is 915 Saturn Boulevard. So is this safe to say that this is one of the fraternities of Saturn right here? One of its offsprings. Got him, coach. See? It's not by any coincidence that this is on Saturn Boulevard and they have a Masonic Lodge. It's not by any coincidence that the Pope, okay, the head of the, supposed to be the Eucharist of God, supposed to be the mouthpiece of God on this earth, he is holding a symbol of Saturn because he's part of the fraternity, which is a Masonic, which are high-ranking Freemasons. Okay, but then they have these lower-ranking lodges out here, these Masonic lodges, in which one could climb up through the ranks in Freemasonry, which is really just about mysticism and occultism and magic and all sorts of wickedness. Okay, now let's look up let's look this up. Saturn Lodge, Masonic Lodge, and that was in San Diego, California. Masonic Lodge 915, San Leandro, Mason, whatever. Wales Lodge number 915. Welcome to Wales Lodge number 915. On behalf of the lodge, we thank you for taking the time. I'm on the website. But let's look this, let's see this, let's look this image up that they have. No, I don't want to download. Let's get an image. Let's get images. Okay. Now we see this same image, okay, of a hexagram. Now it's not all drawn out as the hexagram on the so-called state of Israel's flag is, but this is a rendition of that same hexagram in which they use a star, not a star, a square and a compass, which are building tools. And it's not by any coincidence that these churches they call themselves seminaries. And when you go into seminary, that has something to do with semen. That's where you get semen from, because they practice sexual rites and magic. Now let's get female reproductive. Let's get the male and the female reproductive organs, and then I'm gonna get up out of here. Male reproductive organs. Male reproductive system. Okay, now you have the penis, but I kind of want like a, all right, bam, here we go. This is the male reproductive system, right? Now, if you imagine having sex, right, in a missionary position, why do they call it missionary? If you have sex in a missionary position, you have one part, when you have the testicles hanging, right? And that's going to form one section of that hexagram. And then you have the female reproductive system. Bam, which are innards, right? And they form that other triangle type part of the hexagram, because that hexagram is really just two triangles interwoven. So they try to utilize that sexual rights. They try to utilize the sexual rights to try to get different outcomes. So that's even when they try to do something like homosexuality, which are going to intertwine certain portals. They're trying to open up certain portals, right? And even when you get this creates life when we talking about a male and a female coming together, and it makes that sign, right? So we just talking about the male and the female coming together, in which the male will put his penis through the vagina, right? Stick his penis in the vagina and go through her canals, right? and bam, but we just have the union of these two. So you imagine the penis, when the penis goes through this canal, now you have this upper triangle, this upper triangular type shape, and then you have the testes hanging down, okay? Because we're talking about the imagination of the missionary position, okay? You're going to have this shape happening. But it's just something to think about when we talking about sexual rites, paganism, you know, and their utilization of things that's already naturally occurring, but they want to make it adverse. And even when you go into the star of Rephaim and Melech, you know, they have something what's called Baphomet. And Baphomet, let's just look up Baphomet, then I'll get out of here. Okay, what is Baphomet? Baphomet is this same deity, okay, this same horned deity, which is Melech. And right here, they don't have it pictured right, but right here, what do they show it as? He has, or not even a he, but it has female breast. So this goes into the same homosexuality, LGBTQ, you know, and the Q, the T is for transgenderism, okay? Okay, then we have the pedophilia, in which this goes in, they talking about the god Pan, the Pan worship. And what does Pan do? Pan leads the children, he leads the children out into the wilderness, or out into, which is really just a play and a blasphemy on the true Lord, or power, okay? Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. But this is Pan, who leads unsuspecting children. Pan leads children into secluded areas. I just want to get this real quick. Oh gosh. Let's go. Oh. Pan leads children into secluded areas. And really, that's where you get the that movie Peter Pan. That's alluding to their god Pan. And just as we read in Amos the 5th chapter and in Acts the 7th chapter, let's bring it back up. I didn't want to make this too long, but I'm gonna bring this one back up, and then we're gonna close it out. Let's go to Amos 5, verse 26. But verse 25, have ye offered unto me sacrifices and offerings in the wilderness 40 years, O house of Israel? But ye have borne the tabernacle of your Melech, and Chion your images, the star of your God, which ye made to yourselves. Therefore will I cause you to go into captivity beyond Damascus, saith the Lord, whose name is the God of hosts. And where is beyond Damascus? Let's look up Revelations, the 11th chapter. And we're seeing, and that's going to connect. Revelation 11, then I'm going to close out. Verse 8, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city. And whose dead bodies is this? It's talking about you Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. We're being called by different names. We're not being called by Israelites, but we're being called black. We're being called all sorts of bywords. in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where our Lord was crucified. And even just how we seen how I brought up the Pope's scepters. Some of those scepters showed the Lord crucified. Now, you know, we know the hardships that our Lord Yahweh Shai went through, but he's no longer on the cross. He's sitting at the right hand of the Father right now. So why do you still depict him on the cross? Why do you still depict him nailed to the cross? Because that's where they want him to stay. Okay. So with that, hopefully there was some edification and shalom. Dwadi Bashim Yahweh, and I want to give double honors to the apostles of the great millstone also. Shalom.